When I first stumbled across Pine Hollow, it was during a weekend drive to escape the suffocating pressure of corporate life in Atlanta. My GPS had taken me off the beaten path, winding down a sleepy two-lane road until I saw it. A crystal-clear lake nestled among pines, framed by weeping willows and the golden hue of late summer. I stopped the car, walked to the edge, and knew instantly I was going to live here. 3 months later, I closed on a 10-acre lot with private lake access. Actually, it was better than that. The lake itself was part of the property. According to the deed, the lake and a few feet of shoreline all around it belonged to me. I imagined swimming every morning, kayaking at dusk, and maybe building a small dock with a fire pit nearby. A peaceful life. No drama, no stress. I had no idea that a woman named Judith Cranston, the self-imposed queen of the Pine Hollow HOA, was about to turn that dream into a nightmare. The first time I saw Judith, she came marching across my yard, like a wind-up toy on a mission. I had just finished a long swim and was toweling off on the dock when I noticed her pressed beige blouse and clipboard approaching with all the grace of a traffic violation. "Excuse me," she said, adjusting her sunglasses. "You can't swim in that lake." I blinked. "I'm sorry?" She jabbed her clipboard in my direction like it was a sword. "The HOA has strict rules about water usage. That lake is part of the community." I walked over and held out the printed property map. "Actually, no. I bought this parcel. The lake's on my land. See here, highlighted in green." Judith snatched the paper, scanned it for a few seconds, then scoffed. "That must be outdated. I'll check with zoning." I shrugged and smiled. "Be my guest." She turned away, muttering something about setting a bad example. 2 days later, a white envelope appeared taped to my door. It read, "Notice of violation. $1,000 fine for unauthorized use of HOA property, Community Lake." And beneath it, in aggressively bold font, "Repeat offenses will result in escalated fines and possible legal action." I stared at the notice and laughed aloud. Pine Hollow had the kind of HOA that made people reconsider home ownership. It had been formed years ago to maintain the shared areas, walking trails, tennis courts, and a clubhouse that no one actually used. But like all unchecked power, it had metastasized. Judith Cranston ran the HOA like a dictator with a personal vendetta against Joy. Your grass was an inch too long? Fine. Decorations not HOA approved? Fine. Christmas lights before Thanksgiving? Double fine. Most residents rolled over. Judith was ruthless and knew the rules backward. Her favorite tactic was to misquote vague HOA bylaws and bury homeowners in paperwork until they gave up. But I wasn't most residents. I didn't need approval to plant trees, repaint my door, or in this case, swim in my lake. I had an attorney, an ironclad deed, and a lot more patience than she realized. I went to the county office and pulled the original HOA charter and property plat. Here's what I found. The HOA did not own the lake. The clubhouse and tennis courts, built partially on what used to be part of my lot. When the HOA was formed, the developer leased a strip of land from the original owner, now mine. The lease expired last year, unrenewed. In short, they were squatting. I ran the documents by my lawyer, who smiled like a kid at Christmas. "If you wanted," he said, "you could charge them rent or revoke access altogether." I nodded. "Let's start with rent." I sent a formal notice to the HOA board. Subject, lease violation and revised usage terms. Effective immediately. All Pine Hollow HOA amenities located on Lot 43, my property, are subject to a monthly land use fee of $5,000. Failure to comply will result in restricted access and possible legal eviction of structures. Within 24 hours, Judith was back at my front door, red-faced, shaking, holding the letter. "You can't do this," she barked. I smiled. "Smile now." She glared. "What?" "Nothing. Want to come in and talk with my lawyer? He's on Zoom." She stormed off, screaming something about power-hungry freeloaders. Oh, the irony. The HOA refused to pay. Judith believed she could outmaneuver me, so I took the next legal step. I had the property officially resurveyed. I marked the boundaries with signs. Private property. No HOA access without permission. I locked the tennis courts with my own padlock. I installed cameras and sensors around the perimeter. When the board tried to access the clubhouse for their monthly meeting, they were greeted with a trespassing warning and my lawyer's contact number. The fallout was nuclear. HOA members were furious, not at me, but at Judith. Their dues had skyrocketed thanks to her poor management. Kids couldn't play tennis. Seniors couldn't use the walking trail loop, which crossed part of my land. Judith held an emergency meeting in her garage. Judith tried to spin it, blaming me for undermining community values. But by now, I had shared the entire legal story with documentation on the Pine Hollow Facebook group. The post went viral. Highlights included a scanned copy of my property deed, a side-by-side of the HOA map versus the real plat, a picture of me swimming in the lake with the caption, "Still legal, still smiling." Judith was mocked. Memes were made. Someone edited a photo of her with the caption, "HOA, more like no way." Homeowners demanded her resignation. With Judith ousted and the board crumbling, a new group approached me, a mix of neighbors who just wanted peace. "We'd like to renegotiate access," they said. "Fairly." I agreed. We drew up a lease for the clubhouse area, $1,000 per month, with conditions: no interference with my property, no fines or HOA notices sent to me without legal cause. Judith Cranston banned from ever contacting me. The HOA signed the deal unanimously. The lake remained mine, and I still swam every morning, unbothered. 6 months after the fine incident, Judith put her house up for sale. She moved to a different HOA community 3 towns over. Rumor has it she tried to join the board there. Last I heard, they laughed her out of the meeting. As for me, I added a floating dock, bought a kayak, and hosted swim and BBQ Sundays for the neighbors who had supported me. One of them asked, "Aren't you worried the HOA might come back at you someday?" I shrugged, grinning. Let them try. Then I dove into my lake under a sign that still read, "Private property, smile now, pay later."